Hey everyone, thanks so much for purchasing the gift of leadership. I really pray that it's a blessing to your life. And because you purchased the book, you get some really awesome extra content. And here you'll find this mini masterclass as well as a bonus chapter that I'm going to pull the content from to really help us, not only as leaders, but a big part of leading is managing, right? And nobody really likes the management word because, let's just face it, managers just kind of keep things moving day in and day out and just kind of the same old all the time. But when you really get down to the foundation of your leadership, if you're not a good manager, you're really not going to be a great leader. And management kind of has different modes to it, if you will. And I want to give you what I call management mode, 5 methods for great managers. Because really, at the end of the day, when you're leading a team, when you're leading people, when you're involved in some capacity, guess what? You are going to be managing people. That's right. Old pastor mentor friend of mine used to say, I'd say, how are things going? And he goes, oh, it's great. He said, but man, things would be so much easier in ministry if people weren't involved. And then he would just kind of grin with a little smirk because that's it, right? That's what leadership is. It's all about people. But sometimes those people can need help and they need love and they need people to believe in them. So 5 methods that I believe make a great leader and specifically makes a great manager. Here's some things that I have done over the decades of leading that I've done that have really come in handy as we get going in our management. So, number 1, follow through and follow up. Let me explain. Most of the time in a team or a project, you are planning, you're preparing something. Maybe you're putting a project together. Maybe you're getting an event together for an outing at the park or a church event or a presentation that has to be done. And you're planning. And you have meeting and Zoom call and Google Doc and you're sharing and everyone is collaborating and everyone is contributing. And okay, here's the plan. Everybody knows what the plan is, right? And then what happens is on the day, at the event, during the presentation, something goes wrong. And when something goes wrong, it's like your perfect plan that you have built up begins to fall apart piece by piece. And as a leader, who are also kind of control freaks, if we're just being real about it, we tend to want to fix things right then and there. No, that's not how it's supposed to go. And then you think, oh, I'm going to jump into leadership mode and I'm going to fix this thing. So you go do this and you do that. And you think that you are just pulling everything and you're going to be the savior and the superhero that pulls this thing off. Can I just tell you from experience? That never works. Yeah, sure, you might get to a finish line. You might get someone to the side of the pool instead of drowning. But at the end of the day, you really haven't done much for your team. Because if the team doesn't win, then nobody wins. And that's what we're talking about when we say follow through and follow up. What do we mean? What we want you to do with your management is that when something goes wrong, just follow through with the next step of the plan. Okay, I know that part didn't go really well, but this part's going to go really well. And you just follow through, and then instead of following up right then in the meeting, hey, what happened? Why did this go wrong? What's going on? No, I want you to circle all the way back around, wait, let people take some time, let them take a day off or so, get their rest in, and then you can come back and follow up later. So follow through the situation at hand, and then follow up later when you've got a fresh eyes, fresh ears, fresh heart, fresh emotions, all that kind of stuff. And you can sit down and you can say, okay, so last weekend during our event, this was the plan. That's not what happened. So what happened? Let's talk about it. Where could we have planned differently? What could have made it better? One of the phrases we like to say around our culture is celebrate and evaluate, right? Celebrate what went right, but then evaluate what maybe could have gone better. If you want to be a great manager, you have to follow through and follow up. Method number 2, zoom out. Yeah, I know it sounds simple, but it's actually much more complicated than we might realize. When we're leading and when we're in management, oh my gosh, we can get focused on such the most minute details. But really, it does require us to take a step back from time to time to really remember what our leadership is all about to begin with. I want you to think about the local park in your town where you live, right? And if you were to go to that local park and you were to find a blade of grass, and in that one beautiful blade of grass, you've got this little green grass that's right there. You've got this ant that's sitting on top of that, right? And if you were to focus on that ant and nothing else, you would just watch it and watch how it goes and watch what happens to it. But then if you were to take some time and then actually stand up, now you're seeing a bunch of grass. Yeah, you might still see the ant, but it's really just a bunch of grass. And if you were to zoom a little bit higher, you would actually see, well, there's a whole park here. There's sidewalks over there, and there's a walking trail, and there's little kids kicking a soccer ball over there, and you keep zooming out. And if you go out a little farther, you see the whole city. And whoa, and there's the school, and there's the courthouse, and there's this. And if you go out a little bit more, you see the region. And if you go out a little bit more, you see the state. And if you go out a little bit more, you're going to see the entire country. And then if we get crazy and we go into outer space, you can see the whole world. You can see so much more when you zoom out. And I know that team member just made a really big mistake. I know that they really dropped the ball. I know that you're really frustrated because we didn't meet the deadlines and we didn't get everything done in the right way at the right time. Hey, my friend, take a time to just take a big deep breath and zoom out. Remember, it's not about what you're doing, it's about who you're becoming. And that person who just messed up big time, guess what? They're looking to us to give them the grace, the mercy, and to realize what is going on, that there is a much, much bigger picture at play than what might have just happened. Yeah, we were supposed to have ham sandwiches at the church event, but we ended up with turkey. You know what? In that moment, it might be a really big deal, and someone might be in a lot of trouble. But if we zoom out and we see that, yeah, but the church event still happened, and yeah, we zoomed out even more, and we actually had 150 new people show up that we've never seen before. And then we zoom out a little bit more and wow, we're making a difference in the community. And wow, we zoom out a little bit more and hey, people are meeting Jesus Christ for the very first time because we are giving out of ourselves and what we're doing. Like, that's a big deal. Hey, what about eternity? In all of this, life, James says that life is but a vapor. It just goes away. Eternity is what matters. And we're not going to focus on ham sandwiches and the mess up that is in comparison to eternity. Nah, take some time, be a great manager, and use the method of zooming out. It will really, really, really help your leadership as you lead teams. Number 3, the third method for great management is to know the difference between reacting versus responding. Let me give an example. When we react, it's typically a knee-jerk, right? You walk into a surprise birthday party, surprise, right? And everyone's like, oh my gosh, you're not expecting it. It's your knee-jerk reaction. When someone throws a ball at you that you're not ready for, you kind of dodge because you don't want to get hit. It's a reaction. It's the first thing that comes to your mind, and it's the first knee-jerk that takes place when something unexpected comes your way. Responding, on the other hand, though, takes thought. It requires us to slow down, requires us to be calm, requires us to be very alert, be very present, to understand what is going on. If you're going to be a great manager, I want you to remember to always react versus respond, knowing the difference of your team members when they come to you. You always want to respond in faith, never react in fear. I remember when I was a kid in high school and I drove a black truck. And in this time of high school, I mean, I was like I was driving and I was just, 16, 17 years old. And I remember one day I was going home and I passed my dad who was coming in the opposite direction in his vehicle. And I was going, let's just say extra fast. Some people call it speeding. I call it expanding the kingdom of God with a heavy foot. Whatever you want to say, it's fine with me. But I was going a little fast and I passed my dad. And you've probably been in that situation where you just came in contact with your parents and you just know sweet Jesus, if the rapture needed a time frame, now would be a really great time. Take me up, And I remember thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I'm going really, really fast in this truck. And I just passed my dad. He is going to be so mad at me. And I just remember just almost playing out the retaliation that was fixing to come my way. And I knew my phone was fixing to go off. And sure enough, 3, 2, 1, ring, 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 ring. Here comes the phone call. And just out of almost fear and terror, I answered the phone and I was like, hello? And my dad's on the other end and he goes, hey, how's it going? And I said, good. He said, listen, I just want to make sure you know that there's a man in a black truck right now who's just driving absolutely crazy. I was like, oh, you don't say. Wow. Sure hope he's careful. And he's like, yeah, me too. Oh, I would hate for anything to happen to him. Okay, I don't know where you are or what you're doing, but I just wanted to make sure that you are okay. That was a perfect example of what it means to react versus respond. If he was going to react, my phone call would have looked like, what in the world are you doing? You better slow down right now. I'd just gone absolutely off, which would be natural. But he took the time to respond and to present things in a way that was more acceptable. As a leader, and when you're managing people, you as well have to know the difference between reacting versus responding. They make a big mistake. Oh man, let's figure out how we can do that better next time. Instead of, oh my gosh, you're so stupid, you always mess up the reports. Now, realize that when you respond, you're responding and people are watching your leadership. I think responding too is kind of like a muscle, I've got 2 young boys who are both toddlers right now, and they are running all over the place. And the amount of energy they have is absolutely unimaginable. And there are many, many times where something just completely wild, crazy. How in the world did you think about that? One day I walked in and my younger one had taken a box of Cheez-Its, like the entire box of Cheez-Its, and poured it all over the kitchen floor and then decided that he was just going to smash them all because that was obviously the best, funnest game in the world to do. And in that moment, I could have reacted, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Da, da, da. But I was like, wow, you did a really great job. Hey, now let's learn a new game. It's called Pick It Up with a Broom, right? And learning how to respond is a muscle that you have to exercise time in and time again. It will help your management. It'll help your leadership. And you know what? It'll even help your emotions stay at bay. The fourth method for great management is to follow what's in writing. Let me tell you why. Because for centuries, there has been the ongoing game and the battle and the war of the worlds called the he said, she said, they said battle. Yeah, I mean, you've had this happen to you. I know you have. It's that time where, hey, what time's the meeting? Oh, it's at 2. Who said that? Oh, she said that. Who's she? Oh, no, actually, we're not having the meeting today. Who said that? They did. Oh, I think the meeting's scheduled for next week. Who said that? Oh, he did. What are you talking about? He said, she said, they said, everybody's saying, and nobody has information. Let me tell you, if you want to burn out your volunteers, your team members, the people that you work closely with, if you want to frustrate them to no end, just take your communication and make it as confusing as possible. Because I'll tell you this, when people have information and they have great communication, frustration levels go down and performance level comes up. And if that's the one way that you can do one thing as a great manager, it's keep things in writing. Now, this starts with great notes, obviously, and understanding what the agendas are for things and stuff like that. But what it comes down to even more, though, is have an official place where everything that is going to take place for your event, for your project, for maybe even just the schedule of the week, make it in writing. And then, as a manager, side with what's in writing. There's plenty of ways to do this. For us, we have an internal staff site. We use it for everyone in our organization. And when we have a memo or something that's an official announcement, hey, this is the details for the weekend event, or here's the budget for the project, it goes on that staff site. So we don't worry about sending emails or sharing documents. No, those are places to work and collaborate and communicate. That's important for sure, but it's not the place for official information. And when you get into stuff like, oh yeah, no, we changed the meeting from 2 to 3. Well, who knows that? Oh, we put it in the text thread. Text threads are not a place, in my opinion and my experience, for official information. You want to take that information, put it in an official spot where everybody's looking to, and most importantly, that everybody is honoring. So when a mistake happens or when something goes, you as a manager can say, well, wait a minute, what was in writing? Well, what was in writing is we were supposed to be here at this point, at this time. We had a guest one time that we were picking up from the airport. And we had scheduled everything. Okay, here's the driver, here's the vehicle, here's all this stuff. And we were super excited. They're coming in, blah, 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 blah. Well, about 10 minutes after we were supposed to pick them up, I get a phone call from somebody and they say, hey, our driver is at the wrong airport. What do you mean he's at the wrong airport? Everything was in writing. Everything was right. Oh, well, he just assumed that he was supposed to go to the other airport. No, what is in writing? It becomes a great way that we can put into fuel and all of the things that come with making great teams and doing all that we do. We can put areas and the elements that are needed to make that great production happen, put it in writing. We were able to go back with that guy. Hey, man, what happened? Remember, follow through and follow up. We followed up later on. Hey, why did you go to the wrong airport? Oh, I just assumed, I forgot, I didn't know, all the excuses imaginable. But we were able to point to the staff site and say, hey, here's the official link. This is all the information that you were supposed to follow. Here's the instructions, and we can kind of go from there. So as a great manager, put stuff in writing for your team. Put the schedules in writing. Put the instructions in writing. Put the expectations in writing. Put them in an official, awesome spot that everybody has access to so we can see what is going on in and around the team. I promise this. If you put things in writing as a manager, you will spend less time putting out fires. You will spend less time squashing all of the scheduling bugs that come up into place. People will have a plan and they will be able to run that plan. One of the greatest things you can do to be a great manager is to keep things in writing. Our fifth and definitely probably most important point in what it means to be a great manager is to simply do this. I want you daily to go around and I want you to change the batteries. Yeah. We would have, during summer camp season, my managers would come in and they would say, okay, hey, what's the agenda for the day? What do you want us to do? And it was always the same answer. Change the batteries. What do you mean, change the batteries? Yeah, great managers and great leaders understand that batteries drain out and you have to have time to change the batteries. What are these batteries? Well, I call them the double A's. And one A stands for attitude, and the other A stands for atmosphere. And it's your job as a manager to constantly change the batteries in your team. You have to go and check attitudes. You have to go and make sure that people are in good spirits, that they're getting stuff done, that they're being accomplished and productive and efficient in what they're supposed to be doing at the moment. And you have to make sure the atmosphere is good. How does it feel? Is the AC on? Are the lights at a good level? Is there music? Whatever the context is for you and what you're managing, for us even at home sometimes, like, wow, this place kind of needs to be cleaned up. Okay, let's put the toys to the side. Let's clean things up because we got to make sure that we're changing these batteries. Because when you're changing batteries, you're giving power to the purpose of your mission, and you're putting team members in a place where they can be successful. Sometimes there's nothing greater than walking into a room and all of a sudden, you walk in and everyone's just laughing. There's just fun, there's excitement, there's joy in the air. You can feel that, right? Jesus actually, the Bible says that Jesus had more joy than all of his companions. And we know this, that anytime Jesus showed up to a situation, he never left that situation the same way that he found it. Sick people became healed. Dead people became alive. People who lacked knowledge began to have revelation of the kingdom of God. Jesus did things day in and day out where he never left the environment that he was in the same way that he found it. He always changed it. And I think that's what great managers do. I think they go in and they change the attitudes of people and they change the atmosphere. You've been in those situations where everything's exciting and everything's fun and people are glad to be there. And then you've walked into rooms before when you're just like, whoa, what is going on? Where's the life? Where's the buzz? Where's the vibe? I don't know where it is, but it's definitely not here. When you walk into those situations, remind yourself, you are a great leader worth following. And because you're a great leader, you're going to change the batteries. You're going to look at the atmosphere. What can we do? Sometimes those zones that are just really tired and worn out, you just need to bring some life into them, Ask people about their weekend. Ask what's going on. If there's a ping pong table, have a little bio break. Shake things up a little bit, Tell a story about the time that you remember when blah, 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 blah. Whatever it might be, you want to infuse that space with an energy and a grace and a push, really, that's going to kind of kickstart that thing in the right way. On the attitude side of things, sometimes people are just not in a good spot. They're just in a funk. They've had a bad day. They just broke up with their boyfriend or their girlfriend. They just are, something's going on back home. They're stressed. And it's our job to go in and say, hey, let me try to help you get through this, of what you're going through right now. But then there's other times where you might have to say, you know what? I realize that you're not in a really good spot right now. And to protect the atmosphere of what's going on and protect the vision of what we're doing, why don't you go home and just take a break for the day? And then I'll text you later and I'll check up on you afterwards. It's our job as leaders to change the batteries constantly. And as a great manager, you're constantly going to be in the place and the space of just saying, how's it going? What's going on? Everyone's been to a restaurant. And what happens about midway through your meal? You've got a manager that's walking by, and what do they say? How's everything going? Are you doing good? And that's your shot. That's it. You can either say, yeah, no, it's great, thanks. Or you can say, no, actually, this wasn't great. Can you make it better? And that's your job as a manager. As you're managing people, you're checking attitudes, you're checking atmospheres, you're constantly changing batteries. I would even, to the point, I would give managers batteries to put in their pockets. So as they put their hands in their pockets, they could just feel those batteries constantly, just going over and over and over, reminding them what they're here to do. You're here for a mission, you're here for a vision, you're here on purpose, but most importantly, you're here for people. So remember, it's your job as a manager to be excited about the vision, to keep people pointed towards mission, and to constantly focus on what it takes to believe in people. Because leadership's not about what you build, but rather who you build. And I believe that as you take these elements that we've talked about today, take these methods, recognize them, you too are going to be a great leader worth following.